Hello, everyone, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, the 18th of July 2022. It's Gary here again, and I'd like to start this week by commemorating the goalie's funeral. Today, the goalie had asked everyone to wear a Rangers or a blue tie to the service, which just goes to show how ingrained the club is in his heart. And there was a procession, you've maybe seen some videos and things like that online, with him going past the procession, going past Ibrox earlier and getting the applause and some of the flowers and stuff like that thrown on. I loved seeing the goalie and the flowers next to the coffin in the hearse as well. So just wanted to start off by saying sincere condolences again to Andy's family and friends at this incredibly untimely and sad time for everyone involved. I would also like to wish everyone a belated happy glorious 12th of July for last week, to everyone out there who celebrated it. I can't believe I actually didn't mention it last week. I was kind of inferring to it a little bit when the 5 stars Craig Moore and Barry Ferguson signing part, but I never specifically said or wished everyone a happy 12th. So I'm going to do that now, and that's a bit of a whoops. And one of the reasons that I didn't was last week I was a wee bit out of sorts because Leo's bike gets stolen by some homeless bum from downtown who jumped on a train all the way up to the sports centre where Leo was volunteering. So he's even volunteering, and then when he's trying to do a good thing, a bad thing happened to him. I got a call just about an hour actually before recording the pod last week, and he was in a bit of a state. His bike was gone, so I went, picked him up, got him home, and everything was okay. And then so that kind of put me off a wee bit as the evening wore on, and lo and behold, through the powers of social media and internal Calgary Police Service bulletins and the like, we got the bike back pretty much unharmed on the Wednesday. It wasn't even 48 hours after the bike got stolen, and as I say, pretty much unharmed. So thank you very much to Calgary Police Service and to the 2 officers that got that organised, and also to Leo's mum for spreading the word. She's a cop here in Calgary, and she managed to get the drums beating, and we were in good shape there. So I'm going to use that as a bit of an excuse as to why I never mentioned the 12th of July last week. Quite literally, I just didn't, and I'll blame the bike. So let's move on from there. So things have certainly got nice and busy on the transfer front over the past couple of weeks, with the following players coming in. We've got John Suter, Scottish international. We've got Antonio Kolak, Croatian international. We've got Tom Lawrence and Rabi Matondo, Welsh internationals. And we've got Malik Tillman, a USA international. That's all right. I guess we're just saying international players. Well, maybe not, because we've also got Ben Davies apparently on his way, coming from Liverpool too. And interestingly, just at the last 2 signings there from both Bayern Munich and Liverpool, for me, looking at it glass half full, is just a testimony to where the club are at now, and the clubs that we're trading with. I kind of said that a wee bit back in the January transfer window as well, when we signed the fellow from Juventus who had a bit of a mark or impression on the Europa League final, of course, Aaron Ramsey, and we had Diallo as well from Manchester United. So we're navigating in those circles that we want to be navigating in, for sure, right now. And to date, we've had I guess formally we've just had Joe Aribo, the Nigerian international, left us thus far, in a deal that I said to Scotty, my Southampton fan teammate, on the team I play for here, that it was just daylight robbery. Or maybe I said it on the group chat on the team that we play for, I think it was, and there's a couple of guys, Luke and Scott, are on there, and I just said it was daylight robbery. 6 million up front, rising to 10 million with the various conditions placed in the contract, which I assume is appearances and maybe the team's league positions and the like. I'm not 100% sure what goes into these clauses, but when you look at that, and you look at the Nathan Patterson sale to Everton back in the January transfer window, and Calvin Bassey pretty much on his way. It's not been a done deal yet, and this is 5:35 p.m. on Monday evening. That's over £40 million in the bank for Rangers for 3 players that cost us a combined total of £540,000. So, I mean, that's almost, 100 times? Forgive me if my mathematics is wrong there, but that's an incredible amount of money. And add that to the funds that we gained for an amazing run to the Europa League final in May, and I have to imagine the club are now on a much, much stronger financial footing these days than at any point in the last 10 to 15 years, I imagine, which is just incredible. As I say, when Calvin Bassey, in my notes I kind of put, if he goes, it looks like it's just, any time in the next wee while. Probably by the time you listen to this, I imagine that deal will be concluded. And, it's just great business. A tiny wee bit worrying, because he was absolutely immense for us, especially since the turn of the year, kind of since January time or so. But I'm starting to now get really, really hopeful that maybe this player trading model is starting to bear the fruit that we were all hoping it would, and Ross Wilson is finally, truly and visibly delivering on what we all hoped that he would when he joined us back in late 2019. I think a lot of us, myself for sure anyway, were expecting this to have borne more fruit earlier than what's this, July 2022, with the likes of Alfredo Morelos, who's constantly linked with a move away in every single transfer window. Ryan Kent, certainly last summer was, and Borna Barisic, all being subject of pretty intense speculation at times, but we never did let any of them go, and I don't know if that was by choice or just by the evaluation not being met, and we're just, I guess that's by choice as well, of course, but maybe it just never actually quite materialised. But looking at that, those 3 players, we got Alfredo for just over £1 million, I think maybe 1.2, something like that. We got Ryan Kent for 7 million, Borna for £1 million. So I'd imagine if they were to leave us, and I just want to put on the record that I sincerely hope they don't. I hope that we're done with the outgoings. We might not be, but I hope that we are. But if we, in this current market and transfer climate, I would imagine we would be recouping about another, £30 million, something like that, in that range anyway, in total. So I guess we'll see. Of course, as I say, you can't sell every single established player and replace them with newbies and expect everyone to hit the ground running. So we have to exercise some caution so as not to prioritise the bank balance over success on the field, especially with some crucial games coming up, the Champions League qualifiers in particular, in the next wee while, and more about that in a wee bit. But I must admit though, this past couple of weeks has been pretty exciting, and just continuing to check the various social media outlets for the ins and outs and the like, and click and refresh on the Rangers website and the Sky Sports website to see what's happening is kind of cool. It feels like we're kind of back to like a normal transfer window. So couple more in to give us a wee bit more excitement, and then maybe just kind of lock the doors on anyone else who's established first team starters on the way out. I'm sure there's going to be some fringe players being attempted to be moved on, and we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, all in all, pretty exciting time for us. On to the game segment for this past week. We did indeed manage to complete a full pre-season friendly with no drama in terms of stadium, in terms of stadium failures, and we also got to enjoy a 2-1 win in this one, and that was of course the game at Blackpool on Saturday, courtesy of a very rare and absolutely terrific right foot strike from Borna Barisic and a very sweet half volley from Charlie McCann. And the goal we lost was at the very, very end of the game, and it seemed like a pretty lame ball that was just ping-ponging all over the penalty area. Then the lad just kind of slotted it in. I don't even know who it was. But it looked like it was a brilliant time for the travelling Bears down in Blackpool, who were in fine voice for the entire game. Lots of players got game time into their legs, which is always the way with these games, and it was good to get glimpses of the new recruits as well. So that's us 1.5 games into our 4-game pre-season, with just the 2 more games to come this week, and of course those are the game against West Ham at home tomorrow with a 2:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. That's 7:45 UK time, and then this Saturday, the last one before the season starts in earnest, and that's against Spurs at Ibrox as well, and that's a 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff, 3 p.m. UK. And as I say, after that we're back in actual real bona fide genuine competitive action, where we'll get a chance to truly get back into the swing of things, and quickly. And I personally cannot wait for that, is the friendlies just don't do it for me. I had the game on in the background, was multitasking for most of it. I just want to get the competition games in there, and I know that most folks are kind of like that as well. So you'll also have seen by now that we have been drawn against Union Saint-Gilloise. Just made up that name. I'm not exactly 100% sure if that's how to pronounce it. I didn't make up the name, I just made up the way to pronounce it. And that's in the UEFA Champions League third qualifying round, with the first game being either on the 2nd or the 3rd of August away in Belgium, and the return leg being back at Ibrox on the 9th. I guess that date is confirmed. Admittedly, I don't know anything about this team at all. But, I mean, how many times, just to exercise a word of caution here, how many times have we went into a tie not knowing the team, only to fall short of progressing to the next round for whatever reason? So hopefully that's not the case this time, and we managed to get to the playoff round, which is going to be later in August, with a realistic shot at the group stages. It would be an absolute shame if we didn't get there for the second year in a row, but we know that at this stage of this particular competition, we have to be at our very best to beat this mob. They finished second in the Belgian league last year, and I believe that was actually after just getting promoted to the top division in Belgium as well. So that's an incredible feat there. They've got some new owners in, and they're making a bit of a splash over there in Belgium, so we have to make sure that we are on it. My understanding is that their stadium is not up to UEFA code, so I guess maybe the away leg being on the 2nd or the 3rd might be just them trying to navigate an appropriate stadium that we can go and visit and see them and see what that brings. So we now know what our first month looks like, or certainly the first half of our first month looks like in competitive action, and I cannot wait, as I say, to get that started. For RTV, I didn't hear or see any wholesale challenges on the feed or the commentary from the Blackpool game on the weekend there, so I'm taking that as everyone who wanted to access the games did so with as little hassle as possible. I know that the lads in Montreal had some login challenges, but we got that one sorted for them fairly quickly. We will try and chat with RTV either later this week, or actually probably most likely it's going to be early next week, on what the plans are with the current crop of club vouchers, and to figure out, as I mentioned last week, whether we're going to get them extended or whether we have to go through another exercise of redistributing vouchers to everyone again, and also whether we'll be accessing individual vouchers per club for this coming season. I really hope we are, and more to follow on that one when we know more. But as I say, I suspect we probably won't do that this week. It'll probably be next week. For shout-outs, a bit of a busy one this week, I have to say. Firstly, I'd like to extend belated and very happy birthday wishes to Brian Campbell Sr., the dad of our very own NARSA Vice President Brian Campbell Jr., I guess I should maybe start calling him, on Brian Sr.'s 70th birthday this past Thursday, the 14th of July. I've mentioned on this pod before what a lovely and very tight family the Campbells are, and that typically always stems from the top of the tree. And if you've ever had the good fortune to spend some time in Brian Sr.'s company, you'll know just how great a guy he is. A genuine, kind and very funny man, and more importantly, a red hot blue nose to boot. So happy belated birthday, Brian. I hope you got nice and spoiled by your nearest and dearest. And I did see one of your gifts, the ring that you got, and that was a thing of beauty, my brother. I'd also like to congratulate a great friend of NARSA, Mr. David Edgar, from the Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. A very happy 13 years sober today. I believe it's either today or yesterday, but certainly around about this time. What an incredible achievement. All the very best to you, my friend, and keep up the great work on behalf of yourself and your family for the next 13 years as well. I can't imagine that. I today am 8 days sober, and I'm going to bust that wide apart tomorrow night because I'm going for drinks after work. So David and I have kind of something in common, but not so much on that. But in all seriousness, congratulations and well done. Well deserved, David, and keep up the great work. So, after 2 weeks of our NARSA moratorium on any further Rangers legends leaving us for the remainder of 2022, I am happy to report that thus far all is well. This was brought in after the goalie had passed, remember. So let's just keep this going for the remainder of the year and beyond, and hopefully we'll be set for more happier times. I also wanted to let everyone know that we are delighted to be welcoming the newest club to the NARSA family, and that is the NorCal Blue Nose Rangers Supporters Club, who will be based out of San Jose, California. We had a bit of a chance meeting with their now president, Stuart Kerr, on the Sunday night in the Heart Bar in Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas at the convention, which led to Stuart indicating that he wanted to resurrect some presence in the San Jose area after a number of years of not having any presence there. And true to his word, Stuart chased this up after we all got back, and I couldn't be happier to have a NARSA Rangers Supporters Club presence back in Northern California, as the San Francisco Rangers Supporters Club had to fold recently, as you know. So I'd like to extend a very warm NARSA welcome to the NorCal Blue Nose Rangers Supporters Club, and I look forward to working with them as they continue to establish their presence in the area, which will hopefully include them securing a venue and giving travelling bears somewhere to go and hang with like-minded people when they are visiting the area. I love doing that sort of stuff. On the topic of NARSA Rangers Supporters Clubs, I'm also delighted to let everyone know, if you don't know already, that Orlando Rangers Supporters Club is now very much back up and running and looking forward to welcoming visiting bears from across the globe to their venue. And the last month, Jim Taylor, the long-serving president of Orlando Rangers Supporters Club, who had started the club almost 26 years ago now, 26 years ago, wow, confirmed that he and long-standing member John Miller Sr. were stepping down from their positions and handing over the reins to Colin Bowman, who is now the new president of Orlando Rangers Supporters Club. And the club's venue is Murphy's Pub in Orlando, which is also co-host to the Orlando Spurs Supporters Club. I probably got that name wrong, but that's what I'll call them for now. So that should make for a very interesting day this coming Saturday for the friendly, I'm sure. But on behalf of NARSA, I wanted to place on record my sincere thanks to Jim and John for all of their help and support of both Orlando Rangers Supporters Club and of NARSA over the years. Enjoy your well-earned retirement, lads, and please do keep in touch. Congratulations to Colin, and thanks, of course, for keeping the word going. You'll see that they're fairly active on social media, and you can get in touch with them through the various channels they have got going down there. So some really good news on the club's front. And finally, for this week on the shout-outs, my cousin Paddy Heron, yeah, you likely guessed right that the team he cheers for doesn't play in Royal Blue. Paddy reached out to me last week to let me know about his neighbour and good friend, and I'm going to read it out for you just now, if you'll indulge me. Gary, total long shot, my next door neighbour Jim Gorman is a massive Rangers fan and a great guy, and just retired last year at 64 and took a massive stroke a few days ago. He's doing okay, and each day is getting better. I told him about you and NARSA, and he was hoping to meet you when you were home, but obviously the funeral took priority. I know this part is a massive, in capital letters, ask, but I'd be eternally grateful. I've told him loads about you and showed him pics of you at NARSA and also on the pitch at Ibrox, etc. Would you do a wee shout out, a get well video to him just to lift his spirits and get him back in the zone, as he's very down at the moment? I think a lot of him, and we have his grandchildren over all the time, so because this is what it actually says, but it's not good language or good English, Paddy, come on. So he's indirectly a little like family, if you get what I mean. Jim was brought up in Govan and lived near the stadium, only moving to Erskine later in life. Jim was a painter and decorator for 40 years. Me too. Not for 40 years, I was a painter and decorator for 4 years. And with the council in Greenock, and towards the twilight of his career, he was recommended to move into the criminal justice, working with the community service team, helping and supporting adults who had offending behaviours and had been issued with community service to participate and learn a trade. He said over the years he helped hundreds of teenagers and adults to enjoy working with paint and a brush, and many had very successful outcomes and earned entry to college and employment to learn the trade. This was the overriding sort of stories that came up from his wife Liz and his 3 boys, who are Scott, also a painter and decorator, Graham, who is a scaffolder, and Greg, who is a Royal Marine based in Bali at present and has spent years at a time in Afghanistan of late. He's just had his second grandson the day before his stroke on Friday, which makes this all the more tough as he hardly got to see him. The baby is called Copeland, Coplynd, Copeland, nicknamed Copy, or Copy for short. I'm sure that's linked to the Copeland Road stand at Ibrox, as they are all passionate Rangers family. Jim loves a beer, and his wife, 3 boys, grandsons Leo and Copeland, all love their Papa Jim. He does talk about how much he loves his wife Liz, and the whole street in Burnhaven, Erskine, loves Jim to bits and wish him a speedy recovery. Apologies if it's a bit long, but he is a legend. Wow, Paddy, what an amazing story, and obviously what an amazing man Jim is. Jim, if you happen to get an opportunity to listen to this, please give Paddy your number and let me know when is a good time to give you a call, and I would be more than honoured to do that. As a fellow recovering painter and decorator myself, I'm sure we can swap a war story or two, and most importantly, talk about the world's greatest football club. Well done, Paddy. Thanks very much for getting in touch. I love that story, and really I'm looking forward to catching up with Jim when he's ready for a chat. From a convention update this week for NARSA 2023, I can officially confirm that it's 332 days until Toronto Midtown host the biggest bash of the Rangers year. In weeks, that's just over 47 weeks to go. We do have a scheduled meeting planned with the lads from Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club tomorrow morning my time, that's the 19th, and we will get going in earnest on the practical parts of the planning that need to be addressed right now. And we are also trying to tie up a meeting with both the hotel and Rosie Ratter from our official travel partner, the Holiday and Flight Centre, sometime this week to discuss the packaging status and where the hotel fits in on that, and how we can logistically organise things and the systems that we need to do that, and to ensure they get what they need and our other guests have flexibility they need for bookings too. We're not going to put all of our eggs in the travel partners basket. There'll still be flexibility to book on your own if you need to. I don't know if that meeting will happen this week, because we reached out to the hotel this morning and they're just in the process of operationalising the event right now, and there's 2 or 3 positions that still have to be occupied by the people at the hotel before we'll in earnest be able to sit down with the people who do the system, who do the room bookings and the event management part as well. So maybe not this week, maybe next week, but we're on the case on that one. Just a wee reminder, you can reach out to Rosie's team directly to let them know your specific needs and what those would be, and that will help, as I mentioned last week, in a couple of ways to give them an idea of what guests are actually thinking, and it might be different to what they're actually planning, and then that will help them just kind of tailor and right size the packages to suit. And I'll just keep the telephone number in the blurb for tonight's pod again for you. Other business, your NARSA executive has a meeting planned for this coming Wednesday evening, where we're going to finish off the NARSA 22 lessons learned and work through next season's logistics and talk about NARSA 2023 as well, of course. And I'm looking forward to catching up with everyone again, and I'll give you all a bit of a synopsis of what we went through, certainly the highlights anyway, including next steps on next week's pod. Rapid fire on the communication front from this past week. Firstly, I hope you all had a chance to listen to last week's podcast on the Heart and Hand Network with David Edgar, Cammy Bell and Martin Ramsey and myself, where we went through the NARSA 2022 journey and our collective and individual experiences of that. If not, you're not too late. You can go in and check it out anytime on the Patreon site. I think you go into Patreon and then just type in Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, and then you can search through there. I'll put a link in the blurb this week for that one if I can find it, and I'll hopefully remember to do that. And on the topic of Heart and Hand, I will be doing a wee guest spot on this Wednesday's Daily Update show. For those who don't know what the Daily Update is, it's kind of like this weekly update, but it's delivered daily. And it's delivered every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just on the weekdays, discussing all things Rangers. And it's a brilliant show and a staple diet for literally thousands of Rangers fans across the globe. So if you haven't heard of that already, go and visit Patreon and see what sort of subscription packages they have. And I guarantee it will be absolutely worth every single penny on that. So really looking forward to chatting with David on Wednesday and seeing where we what we're talking about then, what transfers we're talking about then, and that sort of thing. So yeah, try and check that out on Wednesday if you can. Last week I talked, actually probably a couple of weeks ago now, I think, actually about the Rangers 72 film, which of course tells the epic story of the 1972 Barcelona European Cup Winners' Cup winning team and the lead up to that, and I'd mentioned the fact that I'd asked the club about international release dates and logistics. I then got put in touch with a fellow who was inherently involved in the entire project and the production, and I chatted with him. It was actually a couple of weeks back, with most of the conversation centering around an exclusive merchandise offer that they have set aside specifically for NARSA members and friends of NARSA as well. I didn't specifically mention it last week as I haven't really managed to do anything with it just yet, but I will endeavour to do that and work through that with our comms team this week and see what we can do about that to get that out there, to see how much interest there is and to see what the logistics would look like for that. So as you can see, I'm not that organised this week either on this one, but I'm getting there and we will be able to communicate this a wee bit better either later this week or more likely next week. And to be dead honest, I'm actually mentioning it this week primarily to make sure that I force myself into doing something next week. So more to follow about that, but no information yet on the international release dates, but certainly on some one-of-a-kind memorabilia. Then, well, it's maybe not one of a kind, but it's certainly limited edition memorabilia. They've definitely kept NARSA members and NARSA friends in mind, which is very, very much appreciated. On the Rangers tops front, I'm very happy to let you know that I did indeed receive our Rangers shirts last Monday evening, albeit just a wee bit too late to give you a synopsis on last week's pod, and I have to say they are brilliant. I'm loving the retro design and the rounded collar, and it's too bad that they were already in the production when the Sportimon Go logo at the base of the back. But I don't need to look at that, so I don't really care. I'm not hugely bothered by that. But of course, you remember Sportimon Go have ceased trading since that happened. The boxed logo on the left sleeve is a wee bit in your face. And I can't help but think that they could have maybe done something a bit more subtle with that one. Perhaps, maybe with that amount of real estate and creative design was part of the deal and it had to be that way and we just have to live with it. I don't hate it. I'm not complaining about it or anything, but it's just a big plain white box with boxed at the bottom, and I'm sure the creative types could have done something a wee bit more visually appealing with that, with the amount of space on the shirt that they had. But quite honestly, what do I know? I don't really know anything, of course. And Rangers last week announced another associate partnership, and the website said Rangers Football Club are delighted to announce a new associate partner with Glasgow-based CSD Air Conditioning Limited, a commercial air conditioning business. The partnership will see CSD become an associate partner for the 2022-23 season. Scott Williams, the head of the commercial partnerships, commented, it's fantastic to be working with CSD Air Conditioning ahead of the 2022-23 season. CSD Air Conditioning is celebrating its 5th anniversary this year, and we are delighted to be partnered with another growing Glasgow-based business. CSD Air Conditioning Limited Director Carlos Scaramuzza, I'm sure that's in Bohemian Rhapsody, added, I am delighted to have our partnership agreement confirmed with this famous football club, a club I have supported since my childhood. This partnership will provide more exposure, create awareness and raise the profile of our company, which in time will present more opportunities and pathways to aid continual growth. I would like to place on record my thanks to the club for their commitment, and we believe this partnership will be one of great success. So that's great. I love the reason I mentioned that, and it's almost in its entirety tonight, is I just love the local business angle, making sure it's not just all multinational companies coming in and kind of piling on, but just nice work to whomever is keeping the local part of that alive as well. And one last thing, a wee bit hot off the press this week, my Jers stuff arrived just today. I went and checked the post pretty much like 10 minutes before I started recording here, and we got my package and we got Leo's package. And for any long-term listeners, you'll remember that I was delighted with my package last year and pretty much gutted with Leo's tat package that he got. So mine this year is a kind of lovely tin that's got some legendary figures on it. It's actually over on the counter and I would grab it. But I recall seeing Lorenzo Amoruso, Ali McCoy and the like on the front. No current players, so it's going to be a bit retro. On the inside is my card with my Jazz card with my Rangers number on it. And then on the inside of that, there's a keyring, a badge with a lion rampant on it, and then I'm assuming it's a bookmark. It's like a credit card size silver thing that's got the Rangers crest on it, and on the back it says "We welcome the chase." And the big prize for this year is a Rangers notebook. Like, just basically you can jot your notes down and stuff like that in it. Not as spectacular as last year's, but good. I like it. The quality's good, and I'm happy with that. I was going to do a video for Leo on the big reveal, because he's back at his mum's from tonight to next week, so I don't get to see too much of him between now and then. But then we just FaceTimed, and I opened his up, and his is I guess it's kind of like maybe like a lunch bag or a toiletry bag or something like that. There's a wee kind of mini water bottle in it as well. It's actually okay. It's not as devastating, I'll use that word in inverted commas, as last year's junk, but I think from this year onwards, I'm just going to order Leo what I get, and then the two will have two in the house. He's 13, coming up 35, and he doesn't seem quite enamoured with the kids' stuff anymore. So I had been keeping in touch with Dougie Smith from the Coburg Rangers Supporters Club out there in Ontario, because he got his last week, and he was kind of teasing me, saying it's a nice tin, I won't spoil the rest of it. So I was kind of worried it was going to be a whole load of junk on the inside, but you know, they have to get creative every year. It can't be brilliant every year, and as I say, I'm not complaining, not disappointed at all. It's good, and Leo already has some plans for his as well. So, in part 2 of the folks who support, encourage, tolerate, create space for and work on NARSA related things with your NARSA executive team members, I'm going to follow on from last week. And last week we did, of course, Sandra Hawthorne, the NARSA secretary, and I'm delighted that this week we'll be discussing Lorraine Spence, his network. And Lorraine, as you'll probably know, is our Director of Marketing and Sponsorship. And a wee bit of background in what brought Lorraine to the executive last year. After the AGM in 2021, we had a couple of open positions. We had the Marketing and Sponsorship Director, and we had the Treasurer position. And Scott Allen, the Communications Director at the time, had said to me afterwards that Lorraine had expressed an interest in the Marketing and Sponsorship role, and after a wee while we got a chance to connect, and I say after a wee while, that was mostly my fault, as we were just concentrating efforts on Vegas at the time, and there was a wee bit of a delay in getting to that, and then we managed to bring Lorraine on board once the required admin part to satisfy our constitution was taken care of. And having now worked closely with Lorraine for the past, well, I don't know, 10 or 11 months or so, I'm so glad that she didn't give up. I'm so glad she continued to be patient and kept pursuing the opportunity, as she's been an absolute breath of fresh air for the NARSA executive. Her tireless work and her work ethic leading up to, during and after Vegas 2022 was incredible, and the event just simply wouldn't have been the success that it was had Lorraine not more than played her part. So she's a great worker and a great resource to have on the exec, and I truly hope that continues for many, many years to come. Here's what Lorraine had to say. Well, it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. I was going to use Craig as my support person. Having said that, I've just been told, do your calls keep me awake? Yes, I'm loud. We have a 1-bedroom apartment, and he works 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. daily, so up at 3 a.m. Do I see you volunteering and offering to do everything and perhaps too much? Yes, apparently I'm always saying I can look after that. Do I think you do a lot of NARSA stuff during evening and weekends? Yes, cause like all of us, we all have day jobs, families, friends, and everyday errands. Am I proud of you? Absolutely. You've accomplished so much and put in so much work that you want success, and we'll make sure that you do all it takes to make it happen in an unselfish manner. So my partner John landed in Canada when the country went into lockdown, March the 17th, 2020, from being in Iraq in close security with the British Army on a US Army camp. He came here to live and work, but it didn't quite happen as quickly as we expected. 2 years visa preps, one income, visa expenses, and daily waiting. I know we are all stressed in life. It's been a long haul, but my passion of working hard, never giving up, trying to be optimistic and positive, and always volunteering anywhere I can has brought me to want a position with NARSA and be involved in my passion for my country, my sport, my football team, my friends and family. The person who is proud and present is John Suter. Not the John Suter. Well, let's just say he is the John Suter. The other one isn't the John Suter. And John knows every stat, player, history, goal scorer, wins, losses for as long as he's been alive. But the one person I'm doing this for specifically and who would be the most proud is my dad, Charlie Spence. A true Blue Rangers bear who passed away very young in 2003 and whose ashes are buried at the 18-yard line at the most beautiful place in the world, Ibrox. Wow, this provides real, genuine insight into the work that has to happen at home, in or during irregular hours at mostly inconvenient times to deliver the type of service and support that we want to for our membership and our convention guests. And I'm all about quality delivery in everything that we do, and I'm delighted that Lorraine is built the very same way. We don't want to do anything half-arsed or anything like that. And one thing I would like to embellish on Lorraine's story is her brother Craig. Craig was instrumental in producing the magazine for Vegas 2022 and has been busy since chasing the printer for the errors that they made during the final production. Most people wouldn't notice the errors, but we did, and we're not letting the printer off lightly with that, and Craig has been spearheading that. He was also responsible for the name cards at the top table. Doesn't seem like a big deal, and he had a hell of a mess to clean up to get them done and on the table literally minutes before the Walter Smith Memorial Grand Banquet started. And he helped us stuff bags, he helped us count inventory, and was just an incredible support through the entire event. And I know he wouldn't want me saying any of this because he's very much a background sort of guy, but his help too was invaluable and very, very much appreciated. Thanks a million for everything you have done and continue to do, Craig. To Charlie, John and Craig, I wanted to extend a huge thank you from me and the entire NARSA community for supporting Lorraine in her passions and giving her the platform to be such a success in her role with us. And again, folks, this is just a wee opportunity to give everyone a sneak peek into who the folks are behind the scenes of the folks that you know on the NARSA executive. We have 6 executive members to go, and I will continue to do this for the next few weeks to get through everyone. I wanted to finish the communications this week, a wee bit of a longer show this week. I didn't anticipate it was going to be quite so long, with a wee overview on some things about Seville 2022 since 2 months has passed, 2 months today, actually, from this very day that we were dreaming of the European glory that just narrowly evaded us. I might have mentioned some of these parts before, and they're kind of random, to be dead honest, but I just wanted to kind of mark the occasion. Firstly, it all started on the final whistle of the Leipzig game, which was the 5th of May, and the reality that a trip to Spain was now an actual real thing. Like probably thousands or tens or hundreds of thousands of bears, I had checked out flights and hotels before the second leg had concluded, and of course now that they were concluded, everything was just stupidly priced, even coming from North America. So I chatted with my love Erin and my boy Leo to see what they wanted to do, and also to my dad to let him know what I was thinking about. And my plan roughly was to go to Seville, to then go to Scotland, to pick him up, to bring him back here, to go to Vegas, and then we would all fly back to Scotland afterwards. The best laid plans just never quite worked out, unfortunately. And he was very supportive of parts of my trip, but flatly refused to even entertain the idea of going, which was just typical for him. I squared away the travel and the accommodations with Martin Bell and Scott Robertson from Chicago, and we were literally then in countdown mode, and just like a whole bunch of kids in a sweetie shop, to be dead honest. And the only other challenge then was getting tickets for the match. I was being bombarded with asks from people from the NARSA community to get tickets, and we did reach out to the club to discuss this and didn't receive a whole hell of a lot of communication. And in the earlier stages of that time, as I'm sure they were just as more inundated than we were here from a NARSA vantage point. Thankfully, the Campbell clan, remember I mentioned them earlier as being such a great bunch, that thankfully they stepped up to make things right yet again. And this time it was Gaynor, Brian Brian's wife, who was successful in the ballot and who very kindly set aside a ticket for me. So thank you again, Gaynor, for your kindness in doing that. I will genuinely be forever grateful for that. And so then I make my way to Faro in Portugal, or Faro, depends who you talk to, and have a couple of beers at the airport. And then Scott arrives and we get the hire car and we drive through to Seville. Martin was already there using all the local watering holes to make sure that we were up to speed and we knew exactly where to go in the very short time that we had together. And he also had organised the accommodation. So on the Tuesday night we went out, had a brilliant night, making new friends and trying to consume basically every single drop of beer that was in Seville. I think that's what I recall anyway. And you know what? We did our best. We really, truly did our best. In the morning, I got up for an early run because I don't sleep well when I've been drinking for some reason. I don't know if I'm just hyper or whatever it is. Anyway, got up, went and did the most squiggly of 5k runs in Seville. And at that point, I think that was probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock. The patios were already filled with beers in anticipation of what was to come later in the day. You could just feel the atmosphere building. My brother-in-law Andy arrived around about the back of 9 or thereabouts. I can't remember exactly, but fairly early, and then we got ready to head out for the start of our day, which started with some lunch probably around about noon. We had a couple of beers in the room, and then we made our way to the square and then eventually to the stadium. But we did stop at what seemed like 25 different little shops along the way to top up on the beers on the way to the square. It was a case of hold up lads, and then Martin or Scott would go in and come out piled with all this Seville beer, and we just, oh, what a great day that was. It just absolutely, and I don't recall eating dinner that day. I mean, I wasn't exactly hungry either. If you're full, you're full, even if it's with beer. But I don't recall having anything to eat later in the day. Maybe I did. I'm not 100% clear about that. But anyway, we made our way to the wrong stadium. Actually, we were going to the stadium. We just followed the crowd, and we were going to the stadium that was showing the beanbag and not the actual live game itself. So once we realised that, we changed course to go to the right one, only then to be given a masterclass in arseholery by the Spanish police. And I know that I did talk about that in my recap of Seville immediately after it. But we eventually got into the stadium. The view we had was amazing. And we were all together. We basically took the whole row, I think, that of everybody that was all together. And the view we had was amazing. And for that 10 minutes after we scored, we were all absolutely on cloud nine. Just daring to dream. And even when it went to penalties, I was still completely convinced that we were going to do it. But in hindsight, quite honestly, the Frankfurt players' penalties were flawless, really, weren't they? And they managed to take it over the line, and all credit to them for that. But man, oh man, what our lives would have been like had Ryan Kent managed to put that one away in the second half of extra time in particular. We'd be looking forward to replicating or having a similar experience in Helsinki in just about 3 weeks' time from now, and playing against Real Madrid for the European Super Cup, and of course enjoying automatic Champions League qualification to the groups. Sigh. Well, we deserve it. We deserved absolutely everything we got in terms of getting as far as we got in the competition. So who's to say that we won't repeat that again at some point in the not too distant future? If we keep selling all of our players, we most certainly won't. But yeah, you never know. Anyway, I just wanted to reminisce a wee bit on the 2-month anniversary, and also to say thanks to everyone who made the journey possible, and to the punters that we bumped into there. Both Rangers and Frankfurt fans who were fantastic as well, and just made the experience all the more special. It was just an incredible experience, and one that I'm very, very keen to repeat, I don't mind saying. So next year's Champions League final is in Istanbul, and the Europa final is in Budapest. Not cities I'd normally think of visiting, to be dead honest with you, but I'd happily head there if we were in any of the two finals, of course. So stay tuned on that one, my friends. Okay, as I say, a bit of a longer one this week. I didn't expect that. That'll do it for this week, my friends. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. And until this time next week, please do take care. All the very best. Cheerio.